from Seth Jarvistan. Hey, Joe, are New York City teams actually important and superior, or does sports talk, radio, TV make it seem that way? I.e., does America actually care if the Knicks are good? You know what I did on the road trip, Joe?
Oh, no. You did it again, didn't you?
I did.
You can't quit.
I can't quit, man. I listen to so much sports talk radio. I actually listened to the other Joe Giglio.
I saw that.
I actually listened to the other Joe Giglio. That was actually kind of fun. And what I love about Philly sports talk is like all their callers are just, it's one big brag. I'm Philly born and bred. I remember the Broad Street Bullies. I actually had cheesesteaks with Dick Vermeil. Like that's what every caller is. That's what like every caller is on Philly sports talk. And they're also a front run in town too.
No.
Shocker. Shocker. So the Phillies suck.
Yeah, they're not good.
So it's all Eagles, man. I heard one conversation, I think it was on the Fanatic, where it was, is Kelsey a Hall of Famer? Like, okay, here we go, right?
Summer, baby.
It's summer topics, baby. And I remember 4 years ago when we drove through, they were having a big, like, if you had to do it all over again, are you taking that big Nick energy or are you going Carson Wentz? You know, like that's what happens in summer sports talk radio. DC, and again, DC, they're obsessing over the Bradley Beal deal. And interestingly enough, no topics about the Qatari fund coming in. And I think it was the Qatari fund. But anyway, and then in New York's New York, right? Everything in New York was about the fact that they've had a
Aaron
programming
Judge is
change.
never playing again.
No, actually, it was the fact that
got stolen or whatever.
Yeah, Carton's leaving for Fox Sports 1 full time, and they're moving up Tiki. And like every time I tuned into the fan, into FAN, it was like, everyone's navel gazing. But whatever. To answer the question, and I guess I don't know, is it story time? Should we peep game? Do we have enough time to peep game here? To kind of peel back the curtain about this business?
Yeah,
all
absolutely.
Right. So,
how much do you want?
I mean, at this point,
I only got one more paycheck.
We're untethered, dude. It's all good. We're untethered. So here's what's going on, because like Keyshawn, J. Will, and Max reportedly is on the way out,
being phased out. I saw that
phased out. No clue what ESPN.
I think I would take our exit over being phased out.
And probably.
I think I would, man. It's the Band-Aid, right? Just rip it.
No.
Yeah.
Nah.
For real?
Nah.
You want to be phased out?
I would rather be phased out. I'd rather tell me what my last day is.
Oh, okay.
I'd rather get that.
That's the difference between you 14 years, me 3.
Yeah.
That's what that
is.
there's
absolutely.
That's
total difference on that one. So here's what's going on. Radio is having difficulties monetizing, right?
Sure.
And there's multiple reasons for that. And when you are part of a television network, that's where the money is. There's monies the what's in the banana stand? It's in TV. It's television ratings. It's having the big rights fees to broadcast the games and all the ancillary programming that goes around with that. And over time, radio has become more and more an afterthought. The last great national sports talk radio show. The last great sports talk radio show was what, Joe?
Mike and Mike?
Mike and Mike. And I can speak from experience with working at 99.9 The Fan. Mike and Mike was routinely the #1 rated show we had on the station. It got better ratings than Adam and I, which is actually a little bit inverse because typically the afternoon local radio show is your top rated show. But Mike and Mike did such a great job speaking to casual sports fans in the morning and getting your day set and having good interviews and keeping it moving, right? That it brought in not just men 25 to 54, but adults 25 to 54. It did really, really well. But what ended up killing that show? Television. As Greenberg's stature at the company continued to grow, he was more interested in doing more of a TV product. That's how you ended up with Get Up.
Yeah.
And Golick was the opposite. He's like, no, I like it in Connecticut. I like radio. Let's keep doing it. And that's what ended up being a little bit of their friction. Now, Greenberg is one of the highly paid ESPN personalities. He works nonstop next to Stephen A. Smith doing Get Up, radio, the NBA coverage, all that stuff, right? So TV is where the money is. Everything else has had trouble monetizing. And this now gets to national radio. The reason why there's a focus on New York, LA, Chicago, interestingly enough, is because ESPN has owned and operated or partnerships with radio affiliates in those markets, and they're trying to do their best to get as much ratings as they can and then take it to national advertisers saying, hey, look where we are. We're in LA, we're in Chicago, we're in Miami, yada, 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 which then leaves mid-market sizes like us to kind of flounder because you're talking about the Knicks all the time, or we're obsessed with what's going on with the LA Lakers.
Or Aaron Rodgers.
Typically, in every major market where ESPN has a radio affiliate, they get destroyed by the local. Okay. So if you look at ESPN radio ratings in New York, they're getting trounced by WFAN. All right. Boston's another example of this. Every ESPN program that gets put on gets trounced by whatever. Why do you think that is?
Well, they care more about their teams.
They care more about their teams. And that's something that you and I and Adam and I always focused on, especially in a market our size. By the time you got to our shows, that was the first time you were actually hearing local sports talk.
Sure.
Because on a Monday, yeah, everybody can talk about the NFL, but who was talking about State and Carolina football? Who was talking about ACC football? We were. And that's where we made our bread and butter. And that's what I think we're going to try to do here, because there's still a pull for local, which gets to another part. The other reason why local shows trying to talk national is always going to lose, and we can use us as an example. We dabbled in Buffalo Bills talk from time to time. Mm-hmm. We kind of,
there's a lot of Buffalo fans here, though.
There are, and sometimes we dabble in what's going on nationally with like the Jets or whatever, or the Patriots. But technology is at a point now where if I'm a transplant,
I can listen to those shows.
I'm listening to those shows because I have this. Okay, I have this, and
you're not listening to those shows. You're listening to the podcast.
Aha! Which gets to my next point. But real quick on this, and your phone and the apps and podcasts and everything else, we benefit from that too, because I'll use my friend Rick as an example. When he moved up to Boston for work, he's an NC State guy. Were they talking about NC State on WEEI?
No.
How was he listening to NC State stuff? He was listening to our stuff via podcast, via streaming. So all of these things kind of lead to a larger point about how national sports talk's gone away too, because if you are a national personality and you have a following, you're gone. You're doing podcast. You're Bill Simmons. You're Dan Le Batard. You're taking that gambling money.
Well, that's why they took McAfee.
Yeah, that's why they took heck.
And McAfee's real success, just real quick, is he talks to people.
Yeah,
he actually talks to people. Mm-hmm. The ESPN crew post Mike and Mike, they stopped talking to people and they only talked to Adam Schefter. Yep. They only talked to whoever the ESPN personality was.
It was an ESPN information vehicle.
And I appreciate some of their viewpoints, but at some point, I do want to hear from Aaron Rodgers. Yeah. Maybe not every week, but I do want to hear from him. He talks to a lot of the different players. He talks to a lot of different coaches, commissioners. I mean, that's where he really can make your bones here. Wink, wink, nod, nod.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. But by the way, I'll also be straight up that monetizing podcasts is very, very difficult as well. There's only a very small on the national level. On the national level.
National. Yeah,
national level. Okay.
Yeah, I can't convince Sprint to come advertise with us, but I can get a lawyer, I can get a real estate, I can get a pizza place.
Sure. And there's nothing wrong with that. That's actually good. At some point along the lines, I think we forgot that it's okay.
Yeah.
It's okay to be local. It's okay to make a decent amount of money and make a living off of it. But everything has been chased by growth. And the easiest way to grow your bottom line, if other things are lagging, is to dump salary.
Get the Qatari fund.
Which is for that, which I feel like we're going to talk about. I feel like we're going to talk about that next. We'll talk about that later in the week. But ESPN's in a position they're in right now and they're shedding salary because they're trying to make their bottom line look better. Now I have another theory. I think they're actually trying to spin off ESPN.
Mm-hmm.
I think they're trying to. I think FanDuel, DraftKings, somebody will come in and buy it. But that's another theory.
Yeah, why do I have to go to a different app to place my bets than for the app that I have to check my scores?
Which is how we'll close this, because that's actually the next thing that is the great unknown. Because I read this in Awful Announcing recently it was another opinion piece on how like Gen Z doesn't care about sports.
Yes,
right?
I read that too.
Okay,
I thought of you.
Yeah, well, it's real. It's a real threat. And all the people who are doing pretty well right now, the Le Batards, the Bill Simmons, Ryan Russillo sold out the Gramercy Theater next to the hotel that I was staying at for one of his live podcasts. They brought Chris Paul. Like Caleb, we walked past it. He's like, "Who's Ryan Russillo?" I was like, "Hey, he's a podcast guy. He used to work for ESPN." He's like, "So people are just showing up to this theater to watch him do a podcast?" I went, "Yeah, buddy."
All of this could be yours.
Yes. But Caleb is a Gen Z kid.
Yeah.
And he doesn't care about these types of things. And Jake Paul,
that's the problem.
Jake Paul and them, they've all figured out that it's all about cringy TikTok humor, the baby Gronks. Like if I bring up baby Gronk, Caleb knows exactly what I'm talking about. He's like, "Yeah, but didn't you get supplanted by baby Diggs?" So I'm like, right, Caleb. And they're consuming things on TikTok and other forms that are like a weird humor that I'll never understand.
Right.
You'll never understand. And they're foregoing all of this stuff. It used to be that millennials are killing the business because we're reading blogs and listening to podcasts. Well, guess what? the next generation coming up, the millennials are now old. They're not the young people anymore. They're in their 30s, for heaven's sake. They're established. They're mature. The people coming up, they're consuming it completely different, and it's not this. And it's really weird, and we don't know how we're going to make money. So we'll find out. You want to do micro betting?
The old-fashioned way. Yeah. We're going to sell ads.
Yeah.